Welcome, and thank you for joining the Q&A for The Mole Agents with filmmaker Maite Alberdi and producer Marcela Santibáñez, moderated by Deadline Award columnist and chief film critic and good friend of the American Cinematheque, Pete Hammond. The Mole Agent is nominated for Best Feature Documentary for the Academy Award. I'm Gwen Deglis, Deputy Director for the American Cinematheque, and I'd like to invite you to visit our website, americancinematheque.com, where you can find information about our upcoming program and how you can support the American Cinematheque by becoming a member or making a donation. Enjoy.
Hi there, I'm Pete Hammond. Happy to moderate this session for a terrific documentary, The Mole Agent. In fact, I use the word documentary. I thought it was all made up when I watched it. I couldn't believe this was a documentary. It's just extraordinary. And it is nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature, and well-deserved there. Today we have its director, who's done a lot of movies on smaller subjects and goes into these interesting worlds. This one being a fascinating one that she got right in the middle of. That is Maite Alberdi. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome. Welcome from Chile, I should say. You're coming in today.
Santiago.
As is your producer on this film and with your company as well. And she also has done a number of movies as well. So please welcome Marcela Santibáñez. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having us here.
Absolutely, and congratulations on the Oscar nomination. That must be exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah? How did you hear? How did you hear there in Chile that you were nominated? Maite?
We hear it like in the official transmission, and we were together, but it was like super. We are still shocked, I think. Like, yeah.
Yeah. No, and when we heard it, we just couldn't believe it and started crying and laughing, and we hugged, and it was very emotional, but quite intimate on us also. It was just the two of us, just celebrating and crying and laughing.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this movie that's bringing you to the Oscars. Fascinating. Maite, you actually, this is a detective story, of course, in its own way, and really fascinating, the kind of access you got and the way you approached it and the way you made this film. Did you have any experience in this kind of world at all before you decided to dive in as a filmmaker?
Sorry, I didn't understand the last part.
Any
of the
experience question. Like in the world of detectives, private detectives, anything, along those lines?
No, I wanted to make a film noir about a documentary film noir and a film about a private detective. And I started researching in private detective office until one of them gave me the access to see his company and work with him. And that was the starting point of the story. And I felt that detectives work a lot as documentary filmmakers. Like, they spend a lot of time waiting until they have the proof or the picture or the testimony of something. And I think that for us it's the same. We spend so many days sometimes waiting until we have a scene. So I felt it was a job super related to my job. And looking into agencies, and in this agency, I saw the case of the retirement home, and I thought, okay, this is the case that allows me to shoot this film without kill the mission. That was the most difficult thing, like how to shoot a private detective without his mission put in a camera. So as we already shoot in retirement homes, the camera can enter like in another way without saying that we are going to shoot a mole. So that was the better case to follow.
So
but at the end, the film for me, it's not about private detectives.
Right. No, it's about a lot of things, and very interesting timing too. But they didn't know, as he comes into the home, they didn't know that he was connected with you, in other words.
No, he entered as a new resident and we entered before him. So when he entered, we were already there. So we act that we don't know each other. So yeah, that's how Sergio appears.
Yeah, Marcela, one of the things I loved about the film was watching him sort of weave his way into the home, just as anybody would do. And you're capturing all of that too. And it's actually quite poignant as it goes along. You know, they become friends with him and they all like him, and all the women are like jockeying. And, you know, I mean, it's all the things of life. It was very interesting to watch that element of it, you know, as he acclimated.
Yeah, and I think that for us was also a surprise, because the film, what Maite said, like the premise was about a detective, but we didn't know how the spy would be. And then appeared Sergio, a guy who's so charming, and then the film has this whole new, you know, what you're talking is because of Sergio. Like, if it was another guy, the film wouldn't have been the same. So in a way, there's a point that it wasn't, you know, we lost the control, and it was all about Sergio, and he's the real magic behind this film. So
Yeah.
we were really lucky in that sense.
Did you do a casting process? How did you find him?
No, he really appears in the film, like as appear in the film. Like Romulo had the idea to put an ad in the newspaper, and for me it was like a really crazy idea, because I really thought that nobody was going to appear with the ad, and the office was full of old people, and I really can't believe it. And Sergio bought the newspaper all the Sundays trying to find a job, and he didn't believe it when he saw the ad. He always said like it was like this is not real.
Yeah, I know that's the way it's portrayed in the film, but I mean, it just seems so.
No, and like, in the moment, like, he was hired because there was an assumption that he was going to be a good detective, but we never really knew how his personality was. You know, there are so many other things, and we never knew that he was so charming, and that he was so good at listening, and that he was so good at connecting with people. That was like a real gift, you know.
And that he could be part of your filming crew, because when you're not filming, he may need to use his spy camera and things. So you have to have somebody unlike me who is technically adept enough
but
to
that took long, actually. He wasn't very good. Like,
yeah,
there's
you
a
showed
lot
that.
of
That
really bad footage. Yeah.
So the footage mostly wasn't I was curious about the footage. How much did you shoot in order to get this film down to, you know, less than 2 hours?
Yeah. Like 300 hours.
Oh,
like
wow.
we shoot. Yeah.
300 hours.
It was a lot.
My gosh, as a filmmaker, as a writer, as anybody, you know, how do you like part with so much of that? How do you put the pieces of that puzzle together in shaping your film?
Yeah, it's take a lot of time. It was like 1 year editing, and in this year it was super difficult to manage the point of view or the main topic, because we have different lines, like the detective line, all of that happening with the case, all the second characters that were a lot, and Sergio, and it was super difficult to find the equilibrium between Sergio and the detective. And at the end it was like, okay, this is only a starting point to go to the topic that was what is happening with these people inside. And that I think it was a decision of the editing, because when you go to edit, you always came with your first idea, and you have to manage the process that you live. And I think that the process that we live inside is the result of the narrative of the film.
Yeah. No, and in that sense, I think it was crucial. Our editor, Carolina Sirakian, who is like an incredible professional that made, I don't know, 20 or 30 rough cuts before we got to the final one. There were so many options of how the film could finally be. And in that sense, she was really like a key part of the process. And yeah, she's terrific, to be honest.
When did you shoot this? You shot this over about 3 months, right? Basically.
Yeah.
When was that?
between September and December of 2017. It was 4 months, 1 month of Sergio like learning how to become a spy, and then 3 months inside the retirement home, October, November, and December.
How interesting that the film would come out now, this year, in a pandemic, with everything. As we started this interview today, on my phone, I get little news blasts. New York Times, U.S. nursing homes, one of the most restricted settings in the pandemic, allowing visitors again, but opening the doors has brought complications. Things are starting to open up a little bit, but we know what has happened with nursing homes and in this pandemic and things. And watching this movie now, in light of that and all the attention that they've gotten, adds just another layer I don't think you imagined you would have had.
No, but I think in another way, like if I shooted the film in 2020, I will shoot exactly the same film, because they were already isolated before pandemic, and they were already alone. And we speak about the pandemic of the loneliness. We think that they were locked down in that place when we shoot. And what made the pandemic to that place, like the people that were out, get conscious of how many times they didn't go to visit their parents and grandparents. And because of the forbidden, the other realized how locked down were all people all this time, but they were like in a symbolic lockdown. So the life didn't change for them last year. The life changed for us, that we started to think about our connections, and we started to discuss about old age and retirement home because of the pandemic. So that put the topic on the agenda. So the film, I think that was always universal, but now that it starts to be contingency.
No, and in that sense, in a way, it's almost like serendipity, because in the moment there were other reasons why it took us so long to finish the film, and then when we finished it, it was a long editing process, and then when we finished and we released it, of course we never imagined there was going to be a pandemic. We released the film in January, and the pandemic started in March, and in the moment we felt like, oh, we have such bad luck or whatever, of releasing a year like this. But now in retrospective, maybe it was the perfect timing, because exactly of what Maite is saying, like the issue has been there eternally, but now it's contingent and it's getting stronger, and maybe it was the perfect timing in a way.
Oh, I think definitely, and I think, the attention that you've gotten around the world, certainly I know from my perspective here in the United States, and with all these awards and this kind of thing, is really part of that too. I mean, the movie has real, to use a word, gravitas to it. In addition, though, it's still a very human movie at its heart. It's about these people, and you become engaged with them. I'm wondering, in the process of filming, Maite, if you knew the ones that you were going to absolutely want to focus on, that you were going to pull out and make them characters that are key in this.
I think that we discovered during the shooting, but mostly in the editing too, because there were super close friends of Sergio that we have to take out in the editing because we didn't have space for more second character. I think that he established more relationship that we saw on the film, and was super difficult to choose at the end. And I think that he was the one that make us choose during the shooting, because we focused on the one that he established relationship, because there were a lot of super good character also that were not related with him. So our decision was guided, but his heart, I think.
Yeah. Well, however it worked, you got like a lot of wonderful characters in this as well. Did you ever go back and show the movie there?
I mean, it
No.
was complicated. Yeah, because when we released, the pandemic has already started.
Well, it
So
was
we
just
haven't
about to
been able.
start when you opened in January. It hadn't really started, right?
Yeah, but the release in Chile was in June. So the thing is that
Oh,
we were going to invite them all to the premiere, and we want to
yeah.
make like a big premiere in the city. So everything was like the people from, like, the director of the nursing home, she had seen the film, but the residents and everybody else, we wanted to make like this big event and invite them all and do something, in the city hall or whatever. And we never managed, we haven't been able to visit them back because they're still closed. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, not yet.
Delayed premiere.
Yeah.
Little do they know their attention at the Oscars and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything. Kind of incredible. How big
Yeah.
was your crew that you worked with there? It always fascinates me when you just go into a world here and you have a camera, that becomes the distraction, and that becomes something that gives you a false kind of narrative of what is really going on, because people may be relating to that. So how do you weave your camera in to make it almost invisible, to get this story as effectively as you did?
It's time. Like we assume that the first week we always lose that days of shooting, because everybody's like trying to get comfortable with the camera. We are learning how to shoot them, because I think that each place and each character have a different way to be shoot. Like, even if I have been working for 10 years with the same DP, like, he is not like, we are like trying to understand each character. So I think it's an exercise of patience and time until they get used and we can move free on that places. And we learn how to put the camera to do not put them uncomfortable. Like, more than the best frame, it's like the way to the camera be more harmonic on that
Yeah.
place.
Wow.
And in practical terms, the crew is quite small. It's just Maite, a DP, and a boom operator, a sound guy, and then like one producer or one assistant director who's just like helping in everything else around. But it's the nucleus is just like those three. So it's the spirit is try to be, as invisible as possible in a way, so you don't alter the reality also on.
This is such a universal kind of story we're looking at here and all of that. I can't help but think that someone in Hollywood or somewhere would look at this film and try to get the rights to this story and turn it into a a narrative movie. Has anybody talked to you about that? Because like I started to say, I'm watching this and I couldn't believe it was a documentary. I thought it was, like, oh, well, they wrote this, and the way it's done, but you can totally see this as, taken into another level too, in it. Have you thought about that at all? And that, because it's a great story.
Yeah, we have been receiving offers of different parts of the world, and we are closing a deal with the remake rights in the US. Yeah.
Aha. Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't been announced yet.
You just announced it, but no, we don't know who the deal is with, but I'd say smart on their part, and can't wait to see it as it continues going on. Micromundo is the name of your production company, and you do these kind of micro worlds you explore. So is that your whole mantra here in filmmaking, Maite? Is that what interests you?
Yeah, I think that word really define our mantra on filmmaking, because I think that we speak about social issues from micro worlds, like how to speak about society and how do we live seeing intimate experience that we don't have access to. So we believe that putting like a big eye on small places, you're really understanding your identity or your problems as a society, or putting the questions on big topics. Like I can say, in the case of the mole agent, for example, I always read that the most highest rate of suicide in Chile, it's from people between 80 and 90 years old because they feel alone. And it's a number. It's like something really abstract, but shooting this experience in this small place, you can really understand that number. So it's like to amplify micro worlds to understand society.
That's fascinating. That's and you two work together all the time on these projects, your partnership?
I mean, honestly, this is the first film that we've done together, but
okay.
we were
But
together.
it has been 5 years, so
It's one movie, but a lifetime in a way. Like, yeah.
yeah.
So hopefully more, but yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a long
Movies a lifetime documentary.
Yeah.
What is your shooting technique, Maite? The technique that you bring to this in terms of a filmmaker and what you want, you know, in terms of behind the camera, how you approach it?
Yeah, the big challenge for this kind of films, it's like, as I do not make interviews and as I do not put a explicit statement, my opinion of the worlds are always in the camera decisions. So, and as I do not can decide in the scene which frame I'm going to use, because in the shooting, I'm not directing the DP. I'm not saying like, please move the camera there, because I cannot interrupt the live rhythm. So we plan previous big decisions that we are going to apply to all the shooting. So mostly we know how to move all the time, like improvising, but with some kind of rules. So we make like a setup of rules for each films that we cannot break, and we move with that rule. So the kind of position of the camera all the time in this kind was like a ¿cómo digo contrapicado?
Like up tilt? I don't know how you say. Like
a bit up tilt because
up?
the film, yeah, a bit like super slow, but because film noir shoot with that kind of angles, so we shoot the film with that kind of angles all the time. Like we decide which lenses we are going to use before shooting, and that are the lenses. So in each scenes we are not deciding because we cannot. So our decisions were previous, because on the field we tried to be the most like fluid with that world, or the kind of light. Sometimes in some scenes we have lights, but are only in some scenes. Or in our previous film, we put the lights in the ceiling of the place that we were shooting. All the shoot 1 year, the lights were there. So we are not taking decision for each moment. It's more like general stylish decision. And then we move like with that decisions.
And as you mentioned, in getting cooperation to just go into this home here, you had the understanding that nothing was off limits, or they knew that you would be able to see anything you wanted to. Is that right?
Yes, and we were quite emphatic in that, and we went to the nursing home and we told them like, we're gonna shoot everything, the good things and the bad things, because that is a concern, you know, in a world like that. And Maite has done a short film before. The name is I'm Not From Here, and that also takes place in a retirement home. So we actually showed them the short film that has a harsh scene of like a woman falling. So just we wanted to give them the idea like we will show everything, the good things and the bad things, and we want you to know beforehand, you know, so then when you see the film, you understand how we make films, and you know, and you're okay with that. You know?
Yeah, I was wondering that about some relatives that might see, you know, there's one scene that's very harrowing, you know, medical emergencies and things happening, and you're showing that, and it can be hard to watch there.
Yeah,
it's like that. It's why we put like the stylish decision before, because in the field, like we are also living their feelings. So in a moment when I'm also crying, I really cannot take camera decisions, because it's not that I know before which scene I'm going to shoot at in fiction. Like things are happening and I have to react, and I don't know how to react. Like the other day we have a Q&A with Victor Kosakowski, and he told me that he loves one scene when a woman is crying and Sergio told to her like, please cry, and he told me like it was great, the decision to move back. And for me it was not a conscious decision, it was like the place that I feel comfortable shooting that situation that was super painful for me too. And it was like, okay, I feel good here. And sometimes, or I also remember the birthday of Sergio, when Marta started crying, that I remember to be me crying on the monitor like this, like super far away. But it was because like, okay, I was only concerned if we were recording, but I was not concerned about the, like I was with the people, are you recording? But I was not concerned about the image in that moment. It's like about the moment, like to have the moment. So I think that kind of things happen to us all the time, and we see a lot of reference before us. How do we want to look like the film? But during the shooting, it's more like to live with them too.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I could use the term cinema verite, which to me is different than what you do. That's why I thought this felt like, you know, just a fully, you know, a feature film that you could have written, because it's not verite. It doesn't have that feel. In other words, it's not like a Weissman movie, and it's such a tricky thing to pull that off. And the tone, there's also great moments of comedy in it too. How important was it to put the humor in, and do that balance, which isn't easy either?
Yeah, I think that life has that balance, and I think that documentaries has a lot of genres inside. Like we always classify fiction on drama, comedy, film noir. Like I think that these documentary have all the genres inside, because life it's like that. Like we can cry and laugh at the same day, and you can be living a super painful situation and be laughing, and that doesn't mean that you are suffering. So I think that emotions are more mixed on life than in fiction cinema in general, that are more classified. So I think that we see people that they were enjoying the day-by-day life on that place, and they have parties and they really have good conversations and have super funny situations, but they are sad, but that doesn't mean that they have a good day. So that was like the balance that we have to construct, and the emotion that we really live, because we really enjoy to be there, we really laugh a lot, and we also suffer. So how you put that in a story, it's the challenge.
I loved how your cameras lingered on many of them when they're just sitting. They're just sitting out there on the porch. They're just like it's just like we're peering into their life, you know, but again, it's not verite, but it just seems so natural. And I like the way it was edited, and the pace that you were able to create there without making it like, you know, deadly dull. Just
exactly.
You know, which is a real talent. I mean, and you know, and the real pulling off a movie like this, because look, it's entertaining. It, you know, and it is that, even though it's a documentary. That was conscious, the way you edited it. Yeah, that was your conscious thing of letting those moments breathe, but you know, right.
I mean, it's also, I feel, I mean, Maite can explain better, but also is the rhythm of the life in that place. So also it's like something that it's quite natural, you know, because life there is a lot about just sitting, you know. So it's something that kind of happened organically. Like most of the time they are actually just sitting by the flowers, you know, so.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and the life there, it's really more routinary, as do you see in the film, that it's a summary of 3 months, like the day by day. It's really more routinary, and I love to shoot routinary plays because I learned the routine. So I know how to shoot because I learned. So, and as they sit, for example, all the days at the same place in the table, like then in the editing, when I have to edit a lunch, it's like I can take moments for all the lunch of that 3 months because are all exactly the same, and they usually use the same roles. So I can construct like it's reality, but I can make continuity or have more frames of its situations, not because in that moment I move the camera because I didn't do it so much. It's because like as we shoot so many times in the same places, like in the living room, they always sit in the same place. They always speak about the same topic. So then you're free in the editing. So a lot of people are afraid of repetition when you're shooting. And I love repetition because that gives me so much freedom on the editing, because it's to have like a lot of takes of each scene.
Yeah, but organically.
Very organic.
Yeah.
Like you see some of the women eyeing him, you know, and you're focusing and all of that, you know, that's so great. And you mentioned the parties, the birthday party was great, you know, so great to see that and how much they liked him, and you know, and how that relationship had clearly developed in that amount of time. You know, it's a fleeting environment in some ways, a nursing home. People come and they go, and you actually dedicated this film, I noticed at the end, to 3 of the residents who died during that time you were there, or how did that happen?
No, it were my editor that passed away. The film is dedicated to him, and to two residents that passed away when we were shooting. No, Berta passed away when we were editing.
Yeah, I mean that they passed away before we finished the film, which were one is the one that you see in the movie that she passed away, and the other one was while we were in post-production.
And where is Sergio now?
He's at home.
He's at home preparing to go to the red carpet.
Yes. Yeah.
He told us like he has never traveled in a plane in his life because he's afraid. He told us it's going to be my first trip and my last adventure.
He's never been on a plane.
Ever? No.
Never.
Wow. Well, if you're going to take your first trip on a plane, it's to come to the Oscars.
Yeah. He got his passport yesterday. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's so cool. Well, I wish you the best of luck in coming here and everything that's happening with the film and beyond. As I got that little bit of news from you that this movie has a life beyond this movie, and that's great. What you've started. So congratulations on all of it, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.